Hi everyone. Have you ever thought about, am I toxic after being in a toxic relationship? What should we do to figure this out? How do we think through this process in a healthy way? How do we find real answers? And why does this happen? And what are some of the things that might have caused this from being in a toxic relationship? Let's talk about it all in today's video. And we're joined by my little cat here, who might be jumping off my lap momentarily because she's not too much of a lap cat. So yeah, becoming toxic after a toxic relationship, a lot of people who are in toxic relationships are codependent. So that means that anything that's toxic from a codependence place is going to be more like a victim mindset compared to a authoritarian mindset. They're going to be more people-pleasing and self-sacrificing and self-sabotaging. After tons of gaslighting and tons of manipulation in a toxic relationship, that can really increase any people-pleasing that was already there, or teach people the habit, make people-pleasing become a habit for them. So in this process, it's really important to increase your self-awareness and self-honesty to get to a point of stronger confidence. We want to get to a point where we have an extremely clear vision and knowing of who we are. We want to know exactly who we are, a very strong self-identity. When you have a strong self-identity, that is when you're not going to have any issues with narcissists. That's when you're not going to have issues with narcissists, and that is when you're going to find healing in your life. And so it's all about getting to a point of a very strong self-identity. And we want to know our good traits and our bad traits. It's not just about knowing how great we are, it's about knowing our flaws as well, knowing our tendencies that are not good, our bad habits, as well as things out of our control, like learning disabilities and things. So let's get into how it's possible to become toxic after a toxic relationship. So in a toxic relationship, we were told things like, you're too sensitive, when we bring up something that is actually valid and actually not too sensitive. The toxic person will tell us we're too sensitive out of defense for themselves. And because we don't have a strong enough identity, we don't have a solid fight back for that, and we kind of crumble, and we either defend ourselves in a way that isn't so sure of ourselves, or we are willing to turn our back on ourselves even and agree with them that we were too sensitive and we let it go. And when this builds up is when we develop like autoimmune issues and even our own anger issues from so much of this abuse and pain. It is normal, but let's get into some others. They could say, like, that never happened. What are you even talking about? That didn't happen. You're not remembering it right. I'm the only one who truly cares about you. I'll always love you. Even if you don't love me, I'll always be there for you. They can make us think that they are the only ones to see us for who we are, even though that's really not the case. And they can make us think that we have so many of these flaws. We're mean, we're too sensitive, we imagine things, but that they still love us, which makes us feel even more in debt to them. And like, no matter how poorly they're treating us, we need to repay them with staying in the relationship. Of course, super abusive and toxic. So, then we have the choice to respond in only two ways. One is to defend ourselves, saying that, no, like, I'm not being overly sensitive, in which case they might tell us, yes, you are, and then what else can we say? Or we can just, let it go and say, yeah, I was being too sensitive. So in both cases, we're losing. You're not in any sort of place where you can win in a toxic relationship. That is so important to understand for why you want to get out of these, because you cannot win. And so basically we can start to have faulty thinking through this process as it progresses, and as it's held for a long time, we can start to have faulty thinking ourselves, as you can see, when we start to just give in to them and we don't want to fight because we know we can't win. And so we just want to have as little of a fight as possible, which is the best thing you can do in a toxic relationship, but that doesn't mean it's not harming you and eventually, going to cause a lot of harm until you get out of it and can begin healing. So what can help are self-reflection practices. This is checking that we mean what we say and we say what we mean. So we can, for a week, you can just track, what are the things I said and did I really mean them? Did I call someone my best friend when really, like, they're not my best friend, but they're a really good friend? And was it right to call them my best friend? Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it is important that what we are saying is meaningful and true to us. It doesn't necessarily mean to other people, but as we make sure what we're saying is true for us, we increase our knowing that we are a truthful person, and we create that stronger and stronger self-identity until we have a very, very clear self-identity. Then checking if what we say we'll do, we actually do. If you say, you're going to meet your friend at 12 for lunch, did you get there at 12:30? Did you get there, at 12:15? Be where you say you're going to be at the time you say you're going to be there. Did you tell even yourself you were going to do laundry that day, but then you didn't? Track yourself for a week, a month, a year. It might take more or less time for you to track, get an idea of it, and then work on what you need to. Keep a journal of what's going on in your mind. Did you say you were going to call a friend, but then you didn't? Did you say you were going to send an email, but you didn't? Practice following through so that you can have a stronger self-identity. And practice your traits. If you say you're a kind person, practice going to just get a coffee, and by your definition of kindness, were you kind to the barista? Maybe your definition of kindness is asking someone how they are. So did you ask the barista, like, how are you? And what does kindness look like for you at work? What does it look like with family? What does it look like with your animals? And just matching up the things that you say you are with who you really are. Next is assessing what to do if you realize that you've become toxic. And that's kind of goes along with what I was just saying. It is beginning to change yourself, beginning to match your values, who you say you are, with who you really are, and creating that strong self-identity. But this goes with a lot of self-compassion, a lot of grace in this process. You do not have a strong self-identity right now because you went through abuse and trauma. It is not fair, but that's how life goes. It's not your fault, but that's how life goes. It is now your opportunity to be empowered and to take power in your life by this healing process. This is your process to be empowered and heal however you want. So know that, and the more compassion you give yourself and grace for the mistakes you're making, the incongruencies, the not knowing your real identity, the more you're going to fuel yourself to go on this process and continue to have that discipline and energy to complete this process. But if you're hard on yourself and you are talking bad about yourself, you're going to not be encouraged to continue healing. Healing is really difficult. Not many people choose to go on this process. So you should be really, really proud of yourself for doing this. You should be proud of yourself for waking up every morning and, to be also, working for your healing. It's really incredible, and it's brave, and it is courageous and awesome. So you should acknowledge yourself for it.